Hello, friends. This is Dave Hurwitz, executive editor at ClassicsToday.com, here with Dave's Faves. And today we're going to talk about Fidelio, Beethoven's Fidelio, his single opera, and a controversial one at that. This is my fave. It's the Klemperer. This is to be expected, I think, because everyone kind of acknowledges that this is the great Fidelio. Even people who say that Klemperer's live one that was on Testament with an almost same cast is even better than this one, which, I mean, that's debatable. It's very, very good. But, you know, for our purposes, in terms of a really fine studio recording of Fidelio, unless you're a Fideliist, this is the one to get. It features Krista Ludwig, fabulous Leonora, John Vickers, Gottlob Frick, Walter Berry, Ingeborg Hallstein. You're not going to get a better cast. And Klemperer. Oh, Klemperer, my God. He's in his element. This was recorded in 1962, and it's unbelievably fabulous. And that's all I need to say about it as far as the performance goes. But I do want to talk about the opera a little bit, because I've even seen in the comments here that, you know, some of you like it and some of you really dislike it. I was a disliker. I really disliked Fidelio. I've disliked Fidelio for most of my entire career. So for half a century or so, I've disliked Fidelio for all the reasons some of you mentioned, you know, that it's boring and it's kind of pointless and except for a couple big moments. But here's the deal. Everyone knows what the problems are with Fidelio. The problem with Fidelio is that the first act has nothing to do with the second act. That the first act is a light, witty little Singspiel in which Leonora, dressed as a man, is going to have to deal with the jailer's daughter who has is in love with her, and, you know, Rocco's daughter or whatever. And it is stupid. And actually, as a Singspiel, it's charming and it's adorable. But, of course, you know, what really matters, and the part that fired up Beethoven, let's not be, you know, naive about these things. Beethoven also didn't really care about the first half. That was the problem. He had to figure out what to do with the first half of the opera, because as soon as Act 2 begins, oh my, we're in a different world. Well, we are. We're in a dungeon, first of all. I mean, we don't even meet Florestan until we get to the dungeon in Act 2. But, you know, the way I got into Fidelio, frankly, was by skipping the first act entirely and just listening to Act 2, because Act 2 is so great. I mean, it's Beethoven at his very best. You cannot dislike the second act of Fidelio and say you really care about Beethoven at all. Now, some people don't care about Beethoven, in which case it's fine. You don't have to like anything. But if you really are interested in what fired up Beethoven and got him inspired, of course, it's that transition from darkness to light, the heroism of Leonora as Fidelio in rescuing her husband. I mean, all of that stuff, that all happens in Act 2. And it's amazing music. It's one inspired bit after another. Glorious, glorious stuff. Unfortunately, there is also Act 1. And so it took me a very, very long time, and I'm not ashamed to admit it, to be able to tolerate the first act, because I just kept waiting for the good stuff to start. You know, I mean, who cares about this silly little love interest thing? And, you know, I mean, it's on such a lower level from the rest of it. You know, Beethoven was, you know, in many ways kind of a Victorian. He believed in moral improvement and elevated thought and sublimity and all of those wonderful, wonderful, you know, highfalutin concepts. So he wasn't in his element doing this just, you know, fun stuff. Now, Mozart would have done a fabulous Act 1, because he would have included all of what Beethoven left out, which is, of course, the sex appeal, the danger, the idea of, you know, these feelings suggested, and you know, you know what Mozart would have done. He would have done Mozart. It would have been fabulous. Oh, let me tell you. But that wasn't Beethoven's thing. And so, Fidelio is an imperfect work. And a lot of people take that as a sort of gotcha moment with Beethoven. It's like, gotcha. You weren't so great. You blew the first act of Fidelio. Well, okay. let's just admit that basically what he did in revising Leonora and getting to the point where we got it was trimming out as much of the fat as he could from Act One and making sure that he got through it as efficiently as possible to set up the plot, to set up the story, and then move along to Act Two, where he could really sink his teeth into it and go for it. And after, 40 or 50 years, I finally figured that out. Some people who are a lot smarter than I am, or more inclined to love opera or Beethoven generally, simply take the piece as it is and never had a problem with it. And I admire those people because I had real problems, but I got over it. I grew up. And I just want to tell all of you Fidelio haters that you can get over it too if you want to. There is hope. There is hope for you. And more to the point, it's worth getting over because even though Act One is kind of goofy, it has a lot of charming, very pretty music. It pales in comparison to Act Two. But then again, isn't it better than the other way around? Wouldn't it be just awful if Beethoven wrote a dynamite first act and a dismal second act? At least the piece gets better as it goes, gets more exciting, has more tension, more emotional intensity. It goes in the right direction. It really does. And so this Klemperer recording is stunning in every possible way. A marvelous achievement by very, very great artists. And there's a joy in that, too, in just hearing fabulous artists giving their all for a work in which they passionately believe. And they convinced me. And they very well might convince you, too. So keep on listening, friends. Thanks so much for joining me. Take care.